This program is brought to you by the Merdeka Award.
Hello everyone and welcome to what is now our 5th Merdeka Award Roundtable. In the last 3 years, we've covered issues of global competitiveness, education, and nurturing talent and leaders of the future. This time, our topic is taking Malaysian values to the global stage. What are some of these values? And does it matter that they might differ from those that other societies consider modern and enlightened? Are our young people holding on to traditional values? And conversely, are their elders adapting to the emergent values of a society that continues to evolve? Tackling these questions is a panel of participants well-versed and practiced when it comes to this topic of values. Datin Paduka Mother Mangalam is a Merdeka Award recipient, recognized and revered for her work among poor and disadvantaged Malaysian children. Her Pure Life Society Children's Home has, for almost 70 years now, embraced the needy, regardless of color or creed. Anas Zubedy branched out from marketing and advertising to facilitating skills and change management to writing books with a focus on unity. Among his published titles are The Quran and I and The Middle Path, an alternative to partisan madness. And national institution, Datuk Mohammad Nor Khalid, better and more fondly known as LUT, is much loved for his iconic works, which remind us of our similarities rather than our differences. From Kampung Boy to Town Boy and the many years of delightful and incisive visual commentary in the New Straits Times, LUT's comics cut across race, religion, gender, and generation. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Let's first start with an overall look at where you see our society, Malaysian society today, in terms of values. Dato, if I can start with you, do you think we're still quite safely traditional in that we put the needs of our family or our community before ourselves, or do you see a shift towards the more Western values of individualism and freedom of speech?
Yes. Right from the beginning of my life as a young boy, of course, we always wanted changes. We always wanted to change. From the kampung, we wanted to become town people. And our heads of families, like my father, he wanted to see us move from the kampung to the city, to the big town of Ipoh. And it seems that we always wanted to make things better. And what we were leaving behind was a thing that we hope to be a thing of the past. And so we were always moving, I guess. And in 1963, if you think that we were a bit backward, people were taking part in Let's Twist Again contest everywhere in Ipoh, and we were doing the shake, and everybody was singing the latest tunes. And so we were never left out. So if you think that today's trend is a bit different, it was no different from way back then, 50 years ago. So I guess we are always influenced because we open up our eyes and ears, and we are already influenced. It's just that we have roots. And those born in a small town, born in the kampung, they become sophisticated later on, and they reach old age, like I am today, and realize that you do have to go back to the roots because you have a sense of belonging there.
What I hear you say is quite interesting because there's a sense of migration through time as we grow older, as we become more sophisticated, as we grow up. I think that what I'm trying to get at, Anas, if I can come to you, is do you see a danger at the current stage where we forget those roots and we forget the values associated with our early roots and the values that perhaps were more firmly espoused by our parents?
Well, I would say that Malaysia is a very mixed society. So there'll be pockets of people here and there. Some still, maybe many would still be traditional. There's some a very loud group of people, but there are not many of them. Maybe we'll talk about Western values and all that. I think the pertinent thing that I've discovered, or rather I see in the Malaysian young, or rather the modernists, if you want to call them, is that they may say something, but in other words, their thoughts say they want democracy, they want being individuals, they want, let's say, all these Western values, but in practice they do, at their own, their own self, their own area, they're not that democratic. So I would say that somehow or another, a group of us Malaysians, the more noisier ones, if you don't mind me saying this, there is a little bit of dislocation between their thoughts and their mind, their heart. And I think that's where it is. A lot of noise about democracy, but in their own organization, they may not be practicing it. So I would say that we are still a nation in transition, maybe we're still work in progress, but our heart is still a traditional value. I find that the heart is still traditional.
Mother, do you agree? Do you see, or do you find certain values being eroded? I mean, you've looked after a lot of children and seen these values over many, many years. They must have changed dramatically.
I must say you're right. Children of yesteryears were easily manageable, and they had a sense of belonging to the institution, and there was a thing which is very much missing in the human dictionary today: obedience. And I think that with this value promoted, you will find the individual will become more patient and more reflective.
What do you consider the sort of values that we need to inculcate in our young today in order to progress as a nation?
Well, we from the kampong, from the small towns, even from the big towns, we actually live in small communities. And small community living in the kampong promotes family life. We got to know each other. And in the village, everybody knows each other. And when I was, I had to go through this period of time when, as a boy, having to be circumcised, we had a big feast, and the whole kampong turned up, and we could see each other. And so there is that thing about responsibility and good behavior that we had to have because everyone knows each other. So today, we can see this happening in the neighborhood. So if I can manage to let my family, or wherever they are living now, because they have all left me, the children, just to live in that area and get to know people in that area is already a good beginning.
And as values, I'd like to actually pick up what Mother's talking about. She says there are some things that are missing among children, younger people today, and that's the younger people, and that's the sense of obedience. There's things like, I'm looking for things like our perseverance, our sense of integrity, our loyalty, acceptance. We're already starting to talk about that, but where do you see, what do you think is very important for the nation to progress?
Our young people today, their obedience to something else. I think that's, it's not that they're not practicing obedience, but they may be obedient to another different thoughts and a different idea. I do not think we have lost all those values, but a few values I think we should be worried about is that our ability to compromise in the past perhaps is better than today. I think in the past we understand the concept of everybody must get something, no one must get everything. I think those are the values that was implanted in our hearts during Merdeka. whereby we share, we compromise. And everyone must get something, but nobody will get everything. I think these are the issues I think we need to worry about, because the young today may say, I want, and forget that, to empathize the rest, they say others should get it too. These are the values that I'm more worried about. In terms of how the young people today, they behave, they tend to question things. In a way, it's okay to question, but the worry is how they question. It's good for them to be, inquisitive. They say, why must we do this? But it's the way they say it. If they say things, Mom, why must we do this? It's okay. But why should I do this? Then it's not okay.
Mother, can I get your sense of whether you agree with this? Because you actually are constantly exposed to a lot of young people.
Well, I'm very much agreeable to the fact that children must question. And it's only through questioning they learn better. And the adults must be, in fact, mature enough and knowledgeable enough to be able to answer their questions sensibly. So adults must keep on learning together with the children, and that's very important. Even a class teacher and a pupil the teacher will have to learn, keep on learning together with the child, and not just rest on her laurels. This is very important, to be able to keep up with the younger generation. But today's generation are difficult to manage, yes. But then there are ways how we can manage them.
Do you think the reason that it's difficult to manage them is because in this day and age, with your iPads and your Twitters and your Facebook, you have avenues as a young person to speak and voice your opinion and sort of feel stand up and be heard and have that sense of an empowered individual than we did in the past. Before, we were all children, and who was listening to us? Just another child. Now the entire world can listen to you.
Yes, yes, of course. And the young have to be listened to. They lack that, and that is why they happen to go astray and start communicating with their own peer group, which where the peer group may not be amenable to certain laws or rules which will help them and help their lives to be enhanced. This is where we get lots of problems. Teachers have no time to listen to their children, their class of children. Neither do parents have time with them. And children have to be listened to if we have to manage them properly.
So if you say that if I'm hearing that we have no time, that parents have no time, teachers have no time, isn't that an erosion of family values?
We did have much time, in the past. As a matter of fact, the young ones before, they had the urge and the interest to get to know each other. I mean, in between ethnic groups, different ethnic groups. They wanted to mix because that's the best time to do it, when you're young, while the flame is strong. And you can mix freely, Saturday morning rendezvous, and all races. But at that time, we didn't think about races. We were thinking about the music we were going to listen, or the movie we're going to see, or the soccer game we are going to attend. And so there was a lot of that.
A lot of unity.
A lot of unity.
Without trying.
Yeah, and
without trying, without pushing
nobody
the agenda.
Nobody told you to do it.
Yeah. And again, I know that to realize that I'm Indian took me a long time.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
There was no such thing as, didn't feel that we are of a different race.
Yeah.
We mixed up just as people.
I think that's very interesting because it probably took me a shorter time than it took you to realize that I was a Dan lion. And I want to talk about this when we come back. So we'll take a quick commercial break. If we're going to advocate for the adoption of Malaysian values beyond our own borders, then we better be practicing what we preach. Let's see how our panel rates us on the home front. This is the Merdeka Award Roundtable on Astro AWANI, and we'll be back after this short break. Welcome back. In an address to the Asia Society, not long after he first took office, the Prime Minister said that Malaysia is not a melting pot and intimated that we shouldn't aspire to be one. His words were, we make alliances, build bridges, and share power on a community-by-community basis. If that is the formula that we want to bring to the world, what then is working and what needs further work? I'm back with my panel. Mother, let's pick up, and you, Anas, as well, what we were talking about, where you said it took you a very long time to realize that you were Indian. And in the break, Anas, you shared with us that you realized quite quickly that there was an ethnic difference, an ethnic divide when you were quite young. This sort of bears out what the Prime Minister had said, is that we can't, because of our inherent differences, aim to be find an all fits one sort of formula, but we have to recognize that there are differences and we have to embrace them. What's the challenge that you see in that?
You see, the thing is this, it was very, as Datuk Lat correctly pointed out earlier, during the earlier days, we have very early socialization where people from different races play together, we laugh together, we fought at an early age, you know. So similarly, I was saying that because I grew up in the Chinese area, it was very early for me to know that I'm not Chinese because they say, Honakui, don't allow him to play with me.